Hello everyone. So I think my voice is audible for all. So whether my voice is audible for all, just give a message like voice is audible. We can just get start our section very soon, as soon as possible. Just give a message. Okay. Voice is perfect, right? So what we're going to learn today is about all about basics of JavaScript. We're going to cover everything that's essential to get started in JavaScript, like what is variable, what is data types, what is functions, conditional statements, and also we're going to cover about some of the important and essential things that like what is Async JavaScript ES6 concepts, and also the DOM property to apply JavaScript in the web. That is also we're going to see, and everything that we're going to cover. Okay, so just give a comment whether if you hear my voice perfectly, there is no disturbance for you. Just give a comment. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Sure. Uh, I Nice. Thank you. Thank you. And this section is going to be one of the interactive section. So don't worry if you have any doubts and if you have any queries, I will repeatedly come to the restream video and I watch whether yes, thank you. So is everything is fine or not screen, and you can see in your like this multiple screen will apply sometimes. Okay, so don't worry about that. I am right now in the hosting platform, that is why it's showing. Okay, so we just move on to the concepts. Okay, so what if you have any doubt, feel free to ask in the chat box. Okay, so before getting into the section, so the procedure for session is like you're going to have a certificate for this too. It is a participation certificate if you really want it, and if you really feel like this is worth. And then what you need to do, you need to attend the session fully. Okay, so that next form will send you at the end of the session, and this session is going to be taken 1 hour for next 5 days. Okay, so what, next 4 days. Okay, so it's going to be taken, and all the person who filled all the forms, those persons will get the certificates and all. Okay, and and come to JavaScript, the concepts like we need to learn, right? So JavaScript, I think I don't want to explain what is the purpose of learning JavaScript in web development, right? So because if you are here to learn JavaScript, then obviously you know little bit about JavaScript, which means you hear the name JavaScript, right? So in the web development, JavaScript is playing an important role. Yeah, so JavaScript plays a very important role, and by those only those contribution of JavaScript only, this websites becomes web apps, responsive web apps, progressive web apps, so much of things, right? So this is going to be the base for everything in web development. That is what we're going to learn. Okay, so for that I just going to use some of the tools to teach you. Okay, so what I'm going to use is I just going to use JSBin. So what is mean by JSBin? So just like your Visual Studio Code, it is an online compiler. So where we can see our code with slides. Okay, so that is like, for example, if I write code here, your output will be displayed here. So I don't want to come. If you want to read all the code that I'm writing in here, you can write it in your Visual Studio Code and give a open with a live server. That will also work. Okay, so don't worry about that. This is just like an online compiler that you can use it. Okay, and also this section is going to be a little bit fast, so if you have any doubts, I just come to this screen again and again. Okay, so you can give your comments in the sessions and I will try to clear that doubts too. Okay, so let's start the section. Okay, so JSBin is like an online compiler where we can able to debug our code. So mostly it's for JavaScript. So what I'm going to do in the session, we don't going to see about HTML, we not going to see about CSS and all. So what all are the things I need means I need two things. One is JavaScript and another one is console. I don't want the output. So what is mean by console? So JavaScript is nothing but a file. Okay, so JavaScript, like if you use notes are provided, sir. Yeah, of course I will give the materials after completing this session. I will give the material where I am referring. So actually we have a website. That website has a clear documentation of each and every live session. Okay, so you can refer it, and that is a great website built by our founder. So I will give a reference in the last two. I share the links and all. Okay, so don't worry about that CV. Okay, so this JavaScript is nothing but, if I click JavaScript, it is going to here the place where we can write JavaScript. Like it's like a JavaScript file, and here you can see a console is there. uh, Pretty things we need to discuss about a console. Okay, so I think most of you people familiar with this inspect option, because you work with HTML and CSS, you obviously hear that. And you can see like we have headings and we have body tag and so much of things, and that is placed in the element section, right? So next to that element section you can see a console is written. So what is meant by console? A console is a place where we can debug our code. We can say like if I have any errors and those errors has been thrown, like you can see some of the errors has been thrown, not by our code, it is because of JSBin and some Google code. Okay, so don't worry about these errors, and we can just use this console to debug, like we can able to display the answer before it get into the some of the logic. Okay, so I will explain you clearly what is that. So in JSBin, this console, this place, okay, so this that is what I'm using here. Okay, so every time I don't want to go and click the inspect option and I don't want to show here, so instead we can do here. For example, what is mean by console? So before do that, just yeah, so before getting into that, just you need to understand a single statement in JavaScript, that is, in JavaScript everything is going to be an object. JavaScript everything is going to be an object, and I will tell you why. Okay, so later, so right now just understand. So in object we have some methods, the same like JavaScript we have several methods. One of those methods is called console.log. Don't worry, I will explain you. And you need to give the parenthesis. You can see this console.log, right? So console is nothing but I'm calling the console, and log is nothing but a method. Okay, so a method is nothing but a function, an action is going to happen. So what this log will do means, whatever I put inside this log, whatever I put inside this log, it will be displayed in this place. For example, I say the universal welcome of programming language, hello world. And after writing this, I press enter. You can see the hello world is get printed in the console, right? And also we can do several other things also. Like if I say console.log, if you can say 12 plus 45, you can it do some operation too, it gives the answer 57. And if you want to multiply, if you want to do so things, you can use it. Obviously if you are in your computer science degree or if you are in max exam, you can use this browser to calculate instead of getting that. Okay, so you can use it. So console is a place, it just show our result. We can use this place to debug our code, so that is why the console is used. Okay, so it's an example. So for example, I just below down here in JavaScript file, I say console.log, and here I say I love JavaScript, like this. I say I press enter, and here you can see a run option. It is to run the code. Okay, so if I click the run, you can see I love JavaScript is returned in my console, browser console, and also in JSBin. Okay, so both are same. This console same. So this is in browser side. So actually we use this console only for teaching purpose. I'm going to use this. Okay, so whatever code I'm going to return here, I use a method called console.log. So this console.log, whatever I'm put inside this log method, it is going to be displayed in here. Okay, like allow JavaScript, like what the sentence we have written, like so much of things. For example, if I paste, and instead of here, you can give a number like 45 minus 78, it's going to be a negative number. If I say run, you can see I love JavaScript is it's running again. So you can see the old one is also there and it running again. So we will get I love JavaScript, and also we get minus 33. Okay, so the only thing you need to remember, console.log is a default method that is available in JavaScript. We can use this console.log method to debug our JavaScript code, and we can check whether our answer is correct or not. We can proceed further code or not, like that debugging we can able to do. And we can able to use this console to display our answers and all. Okay, so that is also we can able to do. Okay, fine. Okay, so we move on to the next thing. So next thing is about this console is going to be, I say, like console is going to be an object and the log is going to be a method. So there are several methods available for console. So that is how you can see, if I say console, you can see an yellow color is there and a normal color is there and even a red color is there. So what is the indication of this? So this place is where you get warnings, you get your errors and all. Okay, so like errors, the most common word in programming language, everyone face it, right? So if you do some errors here, it will be displayed. So don't worry about this. This is because of some of the Google analytics behind Google, so not worry about that. So how we can able to do that? For example, we do some errors, like for example, if I say instead of console.log, if I say console lo instead of log, console lo, something like that, and if I run this, you can obviously see an error is here, like it's a uncaught type error, windows.runner window.proxy console.log is not a function. So it says something, it is what is saying, it is denoted in red color, right? So which means it is a danger, which means we have an error that we need to check. And you can see that the place where the error arrives is also mentioned. If you click that, it will go for your place. You can try it in your Visual Studio Code. That's very good. Okay, so this error console is the place where we can debug, where we can go on through the errors and we can check it, and we can do the right code, and we will unleash the errors and all. Okay, so that's all things we will do it here. Okay, so the red color indicates an error. So what is meant by an error? So error is nothing but, like for example, if I am speaking in English, the person who doesn't know English, so if I speak to him, what he say, I'm not understanding what you are saying, like this person will not understand, right? The same like this, browser will not understand what you are saying. That's it, right? So here we have console.log, but we have written something that is not related to console.log. So it is saying like, I'm not able to understand what you're coming to say. So please check this line, I'm not able to understand. That is what computer is saying. So it is giving you hint, like to solve what you are going through. Okay, so if you check that and you will give what are the right language, then it will be understand and it will be give the right information. For example, if I click run, you can see it will give the right inclusion, like, so it will avoid those errors. Okay, so console is the place where we can debug and we can go through errors and we can rectify all those errors, right? So this is what console has been used. And log is a method to log whatever it comes, and we have several methods, like we have warn. So what does this warn means? Warn, a little bit of a warning, like it shows some warning like this. You can see the color change, -33 is shown in warning, right? So this warning is especially comes for developers, not for the clients and all, because it is in developer side. So for giving a warning, we can something throw like this, like manual warning. If you want to throw some manual error, you can type manual error. So this is a place, this is a method error, there is a method is there. If I run this, you can see that that particular thing will come in a red color. Okay, it is like manually throwing error, but by default we will get error like this. Okay, so these are all the methods. Okay, so mostly we going to use this console.log, and apart from this log, warn and error, we have tables, so much of things. Right now it is more than enough to understand what is console.log. This is the method that used to send whatever the inputs we are giving inside that method, it will be displayed in here. That's it. Okay, fine. Okay, so by using console.log, we're going to use it every time. Okay, so every time we are going to write the code. Okay, so like I say, like we're going to cover most of the basics topics, and at the end we're going to cover about all the advanced topics and all. So we go with variables. So whatever the programming language you learn, the particular topic will come, like what is variables, functions, loops, like that. The same like this, JavaScript is also having a variable. I'm just going to explain. If you don't know, if you even don't understand, this is going to be a first programming language, that's fine. We're going to do it from scratch, so you will understand pretty much. Okay, so which platform is better to practice JavaScript? Platform is better to, it's very better to create your own projects. Okay, so to perform JavaScript, or you can have some several other websites also, like you can perform JavaScript, like some of the JavaScript Zombies is available. Like some of the gaming websites is also available. You can check it in internet. I'm not pretty sure. Remember that. And it is great way to work with projects. Okay, so that we will cover it at the end. You will come to know like whatever you want and everything. Okay, so the first topic we're going to cover is variables. So what is variables? Nothing but a container. So what is meant by container? So it's like a box, nothing but it's a box. We can say it is a box. It contains some informations, and whenever we want the information, we can take it. That's it. Okay. So, for example, variables is like a, a box where we can store our informations. That box is in that will be in our browser storage. Okay. So the browser takes that, and we can use it whenever we want it. For example, I just going to write a syntax and I explain it afterwards. So I just going to say declaring a variable. Don't worry about the spellings. Okay, so I say something like let, I will explain whatever everything, and I say like number equal to 12. Okay, so this is the way of declaring a variable, one of the way to declare a variable. So what this it is saying means, like I declare a variable, and this is going to be the value of that variable, and this value is going to store inside this number. So whenever we call this number, this value we can able to get. For example, we have, how can we call this, like we have a place console.log, and inside whatever the thing we put inside this log method, it will be called, right? So what I'm going to do, I just going to call this number. If I put it, then what happened, in the place of console, this number has to be displayed. So this is going to be a variable, so it is going to be a box. So the box contains a value of 12, so that is going to be displayed in our console. I clear it, I run it, you can see the 12 is displayed. Okay, so this is a way of storing values, and we can use it further reference. Like you can store the user input, like if you have a sign up form, if you have an registration form, a user ID, some information, some forms is always available in a website, right? So we get the information from the user, and we will store it in a variable like this, and whenever we want, we can use it. Like after sign up, they will say welcome your name, right? So how they get your name, because you give your name, right? So those names are come to the variables, and it will be get stored. Okay, so that is how we use right now. Just keep away those concepts, just learn JavaScript, and afterwards we look into it how to implement it in web development. Okay, so a variable is like a container. Okay, so we can store information. That information may be any, so it is, we don't want to be a number, we can give a word also. But if you're giving a word, a sequence of letter, then you need to wrap it with double quotes, single quotes, or backticks, anything, whatever. Okay, you need to give that essentially. For example, we can say I like the web YouTube channel, like this. If I run this, you can see it will be displayed. So whatever you want to store, you can store it. Okay, so we can see how this is working and what is the syntax behind it and everything. First we see about let. So what is this? So let is nothing but it is a keyword. So in every programming language has something to we need to speak to the computer, right? So I'm saying if I use the let, then what I'm trying to say, like I'm going to declare a variable, that is why I'm using this. So it is a keyword to declare a variable, so that is why I'm using let. And also we have several keywords are available, like we have let, we have const, and we have var. Okay, so we have three keywords for JavaScript to declare a variable. So right now I use let. Okay, so I will explain what is the difference between let, const, and var. So for right now, as a beginner, just understand var is pretty old and it has a major bug. Okay, so there is a major problem with var is that, and that's why the let and const has been introduced. That is why the let and const has been introduced. So in simple words, we can say right now just avoid var. Okay, so just don't use var. Okay, so we have two keywords to display. We have two keywords to declare a variable. One is let, another one is const. Okay, so the let, if I say let, it is more convenient, and if I say const, it is a constant one. For example, what is the difference between let and const means? Let we can reassign a value, but const we cannot. I will explain it clearly. For example, right now you can see a number. I like the web dev YouTube channel is here, and I just going to call. You can see I'm not declaring. If I want to declare, I need to give the keyword. But right now I'm just calling the number. I just say number, and I just going to reassign. So instead of I like web dev YouTube channel, I just going to say 34. Okay, now what happened? So here I'm declaring a variable, so which means a place is open for me in the name of number, and this values get stored in that number container. Afterwards, the container is taken, and inside whatever the value is there, it taken out, it just take out, and this new value is reassigned. Okay, so the new value is reassigned and the old value is gets disappear like that. Okay, so if I say console.log 34, you can see right now if I clear it and run it, and you can see 34 will be available. Why? Because I calling the number. So first of all, the number is declared with I love web dev YouTube channel, but now it is reassigned with 34. If I call this, you can see the 34 number is available, right? So it is reassigned. So by using let, we can able to reassign it. So instead, if I use const, what would happen means this is going to be a constant one, so no one can reassign it. If I run this, you can get an error, like you can see error type assignment, because it is saying like assignment to a constant variable. Why? Because if I say const, if I declare a variable with the const, this is going to be a constant variable. No one can replace him, no one can replace him. So like you can, if I use the let, it's like a democracy. We can vote the election bodies, and we can change the candidates, right? So it's up to us. Like if it is declared with const, it's like an monarchy, which means a king. Okay, so a king, we cannot vote, but the king is always a king, right? So he is not replaceable. Like, so if I use the const variable, that is not reassignable, so it is going to be a constant one. So if I use the let, that is reassignable. We can change it whenever we want. That is a functionality between let and var. And var variable, like we have also have a var constant, but it is very old. So when JavaScript was introduced in 1985, it is still there, but it has a major issue. So that is why we removed. Right now we are not using var, so it is pretty good to go with let, and whenever you want const, you go with const. Okay, so that is fine. How I will run it, when to use let, var and const. Yeah, I will explain how I will run it. How will I, like you are asking how to work with JSBin, you can just google it, you can find it out that. And what is the difference between when to use let and const and var? So if I say let, it should be flexible, like whenever, if you declare any variable, you can use it. So when I say const, it is for some source code we have. Like for example, we want to work with some API, and in that we have some of the source code. We have that specialty, right? So we don't want to change that name. For example, I'm getting a username from a form, so in that time I can give a const. Why? Because if the username will get changed in later words, that is a problem, right? So you can use const when your variable should not change. That is an important one. You should not change them, then you can use it. When you can use let means it is flexible, whenever you want you can use. And var, likewise I say, don't use it. Okay, so that's it. Okay, so this is about oops, this is about keywords. Okay, so coming to the next, what is this number? Is it possible to give something like this to store? I can store a container, a variable like a container like this? The answer is no. So there are several rules and regulation for declaring and variable. So one is you need to give something like this, and this is called as identifier. So what is meant by an identifier? An identifier is a unique name given to the variables. So unique name given to the variables. By using those unique name, what you can do, you can store your informations. Okay, so this name should never start with numbers, so it should start with letters or symbols or underscores. Okay, so there are several rules and regulations that, and it is pretty good to name the same what you want to declare related names. Like for example, if I giving my name here, something like this, you can give related name like this. You can say something like username. It is pretty good like this. Okay, and even you can use underscore, you can use dollar sign to start, and never use as a starting letter, never use the numbers and all. Okay, so that is not a valid one. And another thing, most important thing is it is case sensitive. For example, if I say user, instead of user I say name, and you can notice that the first letter is capital letter. So if I in the console.log, if I call a small letter something like name, both those meanings are same, but it will give me an error like JS bin is output, right? Sorry, go inspect console. If I say user and user, if I say it's zero. So why JS bin output? It is some, if they call the name, they need to show like JS bin output like that. They programmed, that is not our problem. And you can see we get an error. The reason is you can see there is a capital N is there. So you need to give what sensitive, what case sensitive you declare a variable. Same case sensitive you need to use it when you call it. Okay, so then only you can then only it will be work without error. Okay, so the two things you need to note, like most will forget, is they start an identifier with number, should avoid that. And it is a case sensitive, one of the important questions they may ask in interview too. Okay, so JavaScript variables are case sensitive. Okay, so equal to is like assigning a value. So it is something saying like I'm going to assign you something that. Okay, so and we have here, we have, what is this place? So this is going to be the value. So what is the another name of value? We can say data, right? Yes, so this is place is where our data is going to be stored. And if I say data, the data can be anything. The data can be a number, the data can be a word, the data can be an unidentified one, the data can be declared, the data cannot be declared, like that, right? So here we have data, and these data has several data types. So what is meant by data types? Data types is nothing but like it may be a number, it may be a word, it may be a boolean, it may be an unidentified, a null, so much of things, right? So that are called as data types. So whatever the data we're going to given, so we're going to have some types is there, and based on the types, any one of the types is going to be the data. Okay, so that is what our next topic is of data types. Like for example, if I say 45, so 54, so this is going to be number data type, right? So this data comes from number data type. If I say something like this is going to be a word, right? So in word programming we called a string. So this is going to be a string data type. Okay, so that is what we're going to see. I just comment all those things. Right now you understand what is variable. It is a container. We can use keyword to declare a variable, and there is a unique name should be given for the variable. You give an equal to and give the value, whatever the value you want, you can give it. Okay. Sorry guys, sorry, some network issue. Okay. So these are all the things you need to do. Okay. Okay. So then what are you going to do? We're just going to look out about data types. Data types. So this data types, I say like we have some data. So the data is comes from several types. That is all the data types. So what are the data types that are available? We have string. Let's see what is string. We have numbers. In some programming language, the numbers are further divided into float, something like that. We discuss about that too. Okay. So then whatever we have boolean, and after that we have null, and we have undefined. And finally, something called a symbol has been introduced in the latest JavaScript, but this is not in use. Okay, so that's pretty advanced one. And That is all. 99% we don't use it there. Whenever we want that only we use it there. The most common data types are this, and these data types are called as primitive data types. What? Primitive data types. I say why, what is primitive data types? And we have in primitive data types, we have string, number, boolean, null, and undefined. We also have symbols. I say that it's going to be very less use case, so we don't cover that. And also it's very recently introduced. So and also it is a pretty advanced one, so we are not going to test that. So just now understand the most use case available in primitive data types are these 5 data types we are using, and we have something called as reference data types. This is another thing. So in reference data type, we have objects and we have functions, array, all those things. Everything is an object. So we discussed that. So what is the difference between primitive data type and reference data type? In primitive data types, we can store only one variable. In reference data type, we can store more than one variable. Okay, so we will discuss it, and there are a lot more difference between primitive and reference data types, like mutable, immutable, and everything. Right now, just understand, like we can store one variable, that is going to be a primitive data type, and if you store more than one value, that is going to be a reference data type. So right now, we just go and discuss about the primitive data types. Right. So what is a string? For example, if I say let, and I say user name equal to, I just going to say something like this. So a string is nothing but a sequence of character. And you can notice that I'm using some double slashes here. So what does that mean? So this mean like making a notes. Okay, so that is called as comments. In JavaScript, if I use double slash or something like slash dollar slash, so these all called as comments. So whatever I'm writing inside or after those, so that are not taken, that the computer leave those lines. Okay, so that is why we are use this to give a hint for the developers to identify. If you work with some projects, you need to tell them like this is going to be a nav bar. Like I think you are familiar with HTML and CSS, right? So in there you also have a comments, same like that. In JavaScript we use double slash and we have slash dollar and all. Okay, so this is for multiple line comment, this was single line comment. Okay, so come to string. String is a sequence of characters that should be wrapped with double quotes, single quotes, or backticks. Okay, everything that comes under double quotes, single quotes, and backticks, that are considered as a string. Okay, so mostly it is a sequence of characters. So how can I identify whether the given data is a string or not? So there is a method, like how the console log is there. The same like that, we have a method called type of. So this is a method, a default method available in JavaScript. So whatever the variable we give inside this type of, it will returns the data type, which data type that variable's values belongs to. For example, here username is that. If I give the username inside this, it will returns the value which data type it contains. For example, right now it is in string, so it's going to return string. Let me check it. For example, where I want to display it, I want to display it in my console. So I say console.log, and what I want to display, I want to display which data type. So for that, what we can use inside this, we can use another method that is called as type of. Use this variable. Okay, so if I call this variable, then what type of method take that variable and it will be tell which data type it is going to be belong to, and console.log method it will display in our console. If I run this, you can see it's going to be a string. Yes, of course it is a string. That's why it's showing me a string, right? So what if I change this to a number like 78? If I run this, you can see it is going to be a number, right? 78 is going to be a number, right? So that is why. So the type of method, it shows which data type that particular variable value is belongs to. Okay, attendance link will be provided at the end of the class, like maybe 15 minutes after you will get it. Okay, surely, like every day at the end of the class you will get, there is 4 attendance form you need to fill every day, so then you will be get. Okay, fine. So this type of method is something like what we use like that. Okay, so and here there is another important thing that you need to notice, that I say, like, string is a everything that wrapped with the double quotes, single quotes and backticks, that is considered as a string. So this is 78 is going to be a number, right? So that is what this output is also showing. So if I wrap this number with a double quotes or single quotes or the backticks, if I run this, this is again going to be a string. That is what I'm empathized, like stressed out and say everything that comes under double quotes, single quotes and backticks, that is going to be a string only. Even 78 be a number, don't worry, it is wrapped in double single quotes, that is going to be a string. Okay, so this is one of the important thing you need to notice, right? So this is all about string. Okay, so the next what we're going to do, we're just going to work with the numbers. So in some other programming language, you can see like C++, Java, like that. So the numbers are further divided into like floats, decimal numbers, double, integer, like that, right? So in JavaScript, everything is a number. Like for example, if I say 78, that is going to be a number. That is going to be a number. If I run here in the username, we can name this as number. We can clear it, and if I run this, you can see it's going to be a number. If I something give like 0.078, that is also going to be a number. If I give this in negative value, something minus something like that, it is going to be a number too. Okay, so it might different in some other programming language like double, integer. Integer has int, and float operation is something called as double. Some differences in other programming languages, but in JavaScript everything is going to be a number only. Okay, fine. So this is all about Java's numbers. The next thing is about Boolean. So what is mean by Boolean? So true or false, nothing but true or false. For example, if I say let who equal to, I say true. Note this, I'm not wrap this with double quotes or single quotes. So I just say instead of boolean, comment this, and I run this, you can see it is going to be a boolean. So boolean is nothing but that should returns true false value. Okay, so if I comparing two things like 5 is greater than 10, 10 is greater than 5, what is the answer? The answer should come with yes, true, false, like that, right? So the true false, that is comes under, we can give the true false. Like for example, if the user is valid, true. If the user is valid, false, like that. Okay, so this is comes under another data type called boolean. And the final thing is null, and we have undefined is the, what is null? Null is nothing but instead of giving an empty variable, we can give some value, but that value has no value. That is, null is going to be an data type that doesn't have any values. Okay, so if I say let valid equal to null, and here you're going to notice a weird thing. Like if I say console.log, if I say valid, what you will get null, right? So instead of this, if I get type of method, and if I ask for this data type, if I run this, you can get objects. So here comes the weird thing. Like you notice that in reference data type I mentioned objects, but you can notice that null is in primitive data types, it is a different data types. Then why it should show me an object data type? I already mentioned when the beginning of the JavaScript class, everything in JavaScript is an object, right? Same like this, a string is also going to be an object, and everything is going to be an object. But when it comes to the interior study of data types, then only the string is going to be a string, but it is also built by objects. A number is going to be a number, but this is also built by object and everything. We have several methods and all that. Everything is built by object. But the thing is, right now you need to understand like null is a primitive data type. Okay, so it's properties and signification and everything that comes under primitive data type, but it shows object, that is a bug. Okay, so we would expect that it would be uh, cleared afterwards by JavaScript team or not. Okay, so that is all about. And next is undefined. So what is mean by undefined? That is a mild difference between null and undefined. For example, if I declare a value, if I declare a variable, and you can notice that I assigned a value, but the value is empty. Null, what is the meaning of null? Null is nothing, empty, right? So I assigned a value, but the value is empty, then that data type is going to be an object, that null. If I say, if I declare a variable, but I never assigned anything, so then what it's going to be? It's going to be an undefined data type. So undefined is nothing but a variable is a variable is declared, but the value is not assigned. But null is the value is assigned, but that particular value is empty. Okay, a mild difference, pretty confusing, just avoid it. Okay, so and undefined both are little bit same. The only thing is, if you declared a variable but it has some value, comes under null. If you declare a variable that doesn't even no value, that is comes under undefined, and the has value of undefined, that is also comes under undefined. Okay, so this all are about primitive data types. Okay, so the next thing we're going to see about reference data type. Okay, we're going to see about reference data type. So in reference data type, I just previously mentioned object, right? So, but we have so much of things like array we have and functions, that is also a reference data type. But it is good like these two things, objects and array, has a vast scenario when we call as reference data type. So what I say, if for example, the main difference, if I say let user name equal to something like Hari, and if I give comma and I just give something like this, and I say console.log user name, and I clear, I run it, you get a typo error, right? So why? Because primitive data types or the data types that should store one value. So one variable can store one item, that's it. Okay, so one value it can able to store. So if I run this, it will be perfect. What if I have an data that has multiple values? I need to store it how? For example, I have a student list, I have an employee list, I have an employee details, I have a student details, I have a company details. Most of them in real world, everything that are objects and array. So everything that are has multiple things. So in some cases only we use this primitive data types. We cannot say some, but in real world data, when we are working with data, so the data is all about collecting as much as information about a particular thing, right? If I took a car, so I need to collect what is the brand, what is the year, what is the company, what is the um, something like what is, how it is made up of, what is the engine specification, tire specification, brake, everything. Okay, so data is all about getting in as much as information about a particular thing, right? So in that cases, we need to store more than one thing related to a single thing, that is called as reference data type. We can store more than one thing. For example, we see how array works. Okay, so array, for example, if I want to store multiple data types, I can say const. It is good to go with const when you are working with reference data type. Okay, so I say const, if I say cos, okay, sorry, cos, and for declaring array you need to give this square bracket, and inside this you can give whatever the data you need to give, you can give. For example, I can say Volvo, and we can say Benz, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20, 20 and we can say Audi. And if you go with some other data types like number data type, we can give. And if you go with some boolean data type, it show whatever data type, it doesn't care, it will store multiple things. Okay, so true is there. And if I call something like null, you can call it. And if you want to call undefined, you can use this. Like this, we can store not only a single data type, you can store more than one data type also. Okay, so now you have a doubt like how can we access it. For example, in normal primitive data types, it's going to be only one value. So if I call this, it will return that name. So if I call this cost and I run this, you can notice it's written everything. I don't want everything. I only want a particular thing. I need to access a particular value in this array. Okay, so the array is nothing but we can store a list of values. So this is the syntax to store a list of values, more than one values. You can use it array. So that is what reference data types. That is what I already said, right? So what if I want to access the first element, or I want to access the second element, or I want to access it? How can we do this? Like, for that you need to understand what is index. There is something called as index is there. For example, if I say console.log, if I give an inspect, we can go for the console that is available in the browser. If I give that, you can notice that it is this at the end. If I say console.log, it is going to be an array. So it is displaying array, and you can notice 7, which means the number of items. So in our array we have 7 items. And you can notice something like 0 colon Volvo, 1 colon Benz, 2 colon Audi, 3 colon 2022, 4 colon true, 5 colon null, 6 colon undefined, and the length is going to be 7. So what is this? So these are something that we can able to access it, right? So this 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, this is called as indexes. So what is mean by indexes? Indexes is the place where those values stored. So for example, if I want to access bins, I can call the index of the array. So the index is 1. So the only thing you need to remember, index JavaScript array indexes starts from zeros. Okay, and another thing to remember, the index is always less than one value compared to the length. Why? Because length is like a counting, so it will count how many number of items we have. So it starts from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So it will just count it and it will give the total value. But indexes always starts from 0. So the length is counted from 1, the index starts from 0. So obviously length is 1 plus 1 time higher than the indexes. Okay, so first we see about how to access an element. So for accessing an array, you need to call that array. And what is the index of calling declaring an array? You use the square bracket. Same like that, here you use the square bracket, and inside this you can call the indexes. Okay, which indexes you need to in which index value you need to access. For example, if I want Audi, right? Audi, what index it is? So the index starts from 0, 0, 1, 2. So if I call 2 and I run this, you can see Audi is that. So it only accesses the particular element. For example, if I remove this, if I say 6, so 6 is the last index that is undefined. So if I run this, you can see undefined is, we get the undefined. If I say 2, if I say 1, so then 0, 1. So obviously what we're going to get? We're going to get the pins. So this is how we need to access it. So the next thing you need to remember, we have length property. Okay, so how we can get the length of the property? Cost dot length, just call length property. Like, sorry, you can see the values get, right? So you can use it like cost dot length minus 3. If I run this, what is going to be a value? It's going to be 4, because the length of the value is going to be 7 and it is going to be 4. And it is that is not manual, it is automatically. If I increase the if I add some of the array values, then automatically the value is going to be increased. For example, here I say 45, 67. Now the length is get increased, like it's get increased to 9. So if I minus 3, then what would happen? It will going to return value of 6. Okay, so it is going to be an automatic one. Okay, so this is going to be an array. We can store it, and to access an array you need to use the indexes to access it, right? Fine. So the next is object. So there is only one difference between our array and object, that is array uses numbered indexes, which means 0, 1, like how we access it. Likewise it uses numbered indexes. Object uses named indexes. Let me see that what is object is. For example, if I say const, I just say car equal to, here to declare an object you need to give the curly braces, not the square bracket. Square bracket is for array, curly braces is for object. And here you can give the value, like here you can give key, colon, and value. What does mean the key value means? Like how you declare a variable, the same like that. Here you can give the key and here you can give the value. For example, here if I say name, and here we can give the value name. Here it's going to be Ferrari, and for the next you need to give a comma, and you can go with next thing, like for example model, and I say 2022. And next is registered, and we can say false, boolean, like this. So this is going to be a key value pass, and it is inside an object, right? So this is called as properties. What this is called as properties. This is called as properties. Okay, so we can able to access it. Like this is how it will be work. If I say console.log, this is also a way of storing multiple variables, like multiple data, right, of a particular thing. If I say car, and if I run this, you can notice that it will just send everything, right? If I go for my inspect, go for my console, you can notice that it shows an object. If I click this, you can see that is registered is false, and model is there, name is there, Ferrari, everything is there, right? So likewise, whatever the information we give, it is there. So how can we access a particular thing? For example, I want a particular thing. How can I use that? You just want to, in array we use the square bracket, here we need to use the dot. Okay, here we need to use the dot, and after that you need to call the key, the property. For example, if I want the name, you need to call the name. That's it. If I run this, you will get the Ferrari only. You can notice Ferrari only. Likewise, we can able to access it. For example, we can create it. Like if I say let cars equal to, what we can say, car my, I can create a string. I can say my car is, and I can give a plus. What this plus operator will do, it will concatenate, it will add it. Okay, and I say my car is car dot name. So if I say car dot name, what is mean by that? It will go for the object and it will take the name of it. So what is the name of it? Ferrari. So it will take it. So what happened? My car is Ferrari, and after that I just give something like it is uh, the model of the car is something like this, and I just want to call model, not simply model. You need to call car dot model. So now what happened? If I console.log, if I say cars, if I run this, you can notice my car is Ferrari, the model of the car is 2022. A little bit space we can give, and we can run it. You can see, fine. Likewise, we can able to access it and we can use it. So that is how your username, your password, and your email, everything is get fetched. And when you are go for some home screen, your name is show, right? So welcome Hari, welcome Sabri, welcome um, Shruvi, like that. Whatever the name you are giving, it will be show dynamically. Likewise, it will be work. So this is called as property. And how can, if I want to, and there is something called as method is also available, and we will see that later. Okay, so right now you can understand, like when I use the car, I use something called as length, right? So the dot length property, the same like this, I use the dot property. So here it is a evidence, like I say, like object is everything JavaScript. Like JavaScript is everything, whatever you take JavaScript, everything is an object, right? The same like this, here array is also an object, a string is also an object. That is a example. So the array is built by using objects. So that is why we can able to access some default method property. I use dot. The same like this is the manually created object, I use dot. This is already there. When someone use this array, we can able to access it. The same like this, console is also a method and all, we can use it. Okay, so let me see about what is method. So what is method means? Method is nothing but a function inside an object. So I'm not going to tell whatever everything, because we're going to cover this topic in that tomorrow. So our function is nothing but we need to run certain tasks, we can able to do that. For example, if I want to run this, how can I do that? For example, what I can do means, I just cut this, and here I just going to say details. Just create an key in the name of detail, and inside this, instead of saying something like that, we can declare a function. And here we can say console.log and put whatever the information we need to say, something like this. So now what happened? Now what would happen if someone calls this? Okay, if someone calls this function, if someone calls the details, then this is going to be run. This function is going to be run. A function is nothing but a particular action to take place. So here, what is the action? Just in console.log, display these things, car.name, car.thing, and everything. So if I want to run, this is going to be a method. So this is going to be a property. If I want to run a method, the same like property, I need to say console.log. We don't want to call the console.log. Here we can simply say details. I just say cars dot details. Okay, so if I simply say that, it is going to be a property. So if I use the parenthesis, this is going to be a method. So this is going to be a method. If I run this, I can get an error. It's a console.log. Okay, so it shows me cannot access cars. Okay, so this is, we declared something, but we don't delete it. Okay, we remove it. So the only difference is when we are using a property, here you can see I just clear it, I just run it. Here you can see my car.detail is that. The difference between a property and a method is, a method, a function inside an object, that is called as method. We can say like variable inside an object, that is called as property. So for property, we don't want to use this parenthesis, because it is just going to display whatever the information we have. But it's when it is going to be a method, it is going to run certain action. So in that, we need to give this parenthesis. So now you can understand, console is going to be an object and log is going to be the method of those objects. That is why we are using the parenthesis. So this is default one, and this cost or detail is created by us. Okay, so this is all about yeah, so this is all about data types and variables for day one. We covered it out. I think you would familiar with all those things in the basics and all. If you have any doubt, you can ask. And also the attendance form is also shared by our host. You can fill those attendance form. It is mandatory to get certificate. If you really want the certificate, you need to fill all the 4 attendance form. Okay, If you fill that, you will get those certificate through mail. Okay, you can fill it out. The attendance forms is there. Fine. Okay, so this is all about variables and data types. We covered about primitive and data types and all. And the next we're going to see about methods. What is the method? Like here we can see some of the methods like dot method, something like that. So we're going to discuss about methods and all. All the data types has its own methods. That is what we're going to discuss it. And afterwards we're going to discuss about something different, right? So time's up. So if you have really any doubts and all, you can ask. You can contact me personally in LinkedIn or the TWD team and all. So the final thing is, if you really want some of the notes that related to JavaScript, just visit this website, the web dev. Okay, so this web dev is a website built by, not this one, sorry, dev.tech. You need to give the webdev.tech. Just click this, something like learn, build, react, Gatsby, something like this. So you will come to this website, and here you just type whatever the name you want. Like for example, if I say JavaScript, you will get all the information I'm teaching in the live section. It's get from here only. Okay, so right now our site is under maintenance. That is what. So I will share all the links that's you needed to reference further. I will send it to you. If you really want it, just go and search it here. You will find it out here. Okay, so this is the official website of our company. Okay, so you can use the LinkedIn platform, like, just a minute, LinkedIn feed. Just go and type Nabitu Biswa sir, and he is very huge in LinkedIn. And this is my personal LinkedIn. You can check it out here. This is my personal LinkedIn. Okay, tomorrow I will share my LinkedIn also. If you have any doubts, you can clarify in the LinkedIn message and all. And I think if you are in WhatsApp group, you can join our WhatsApp group too. I will send those WhatsApp group tomorrow also. Okay, fine. Okay, so tomorrow I will share all the details to contact TWD for sure. Okay, so the time's up. So the upcoming meetings also is there. Further we talk tomorrow. Okay, see you.